Uh, Good evening to all. It's a pleasure to welcome you all this evening for actually, this is our third session on Toppers Talk by Mr. Prem Kumar and Ms. Aarti, IDAS. We actually started the series with the first session in the month of March with our distinguished alumnus, Mr. Bakya Gautam, who is a 2016 passed out from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Actually, he scored All India rank 178 in the examination conducted by UPSC for the post of Assistant Commandant in the Central Armed Police Force. And then in the same series, the second session we had with Ms. Ammu J, who secured All India rank 141 in the 2019 UPSC exam. So today we are here for the third session, and we have with us Mr. Prem Kumar, IDAS, who is the Assistant Controller of Finance and Accounts, Ministry of Defense, Government of India. Mr. Prem, I was going through your page where you're, giving free guidance and mentoring for more than 2,500 aspirants. I was very impressed, and in fact, I was thinking it's truly a civil service. This is what truly a civil service is all about. So it's a great honor to have you today with us to clarify the doubts of all the other aspirants who have joined today, added to your 2,500 aspirants. Welcome you, Prem. And we also have Ms. Aarti, IDAS, Assistant Controller of Defense Accounts, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, with us this evening. Interestingly, she's a biomedical engineering graduate from PSG and worked in GE Healthcare and currently in this role. I was just looking at her profile, and I'm sure today's session is going to enlighten all our civil service aspirants in our campus, who are from different branches of engineering and who are looking to clear this exam. I think it's going to be really inspiring for all my students here. Welcome you, ma'am, for this virtual session today. Also, I would like to express my heartiest congratulations once again to both of you for this grand success, and wishing both of you all the very best in your career and personal life too. I also extend my warm welcome to all the heads of the departments, my colleagues, my dear students, and all the aspirants who have joined today. I'll not take much of your time. Ramya, can we go ahead and start the program?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I feel immense happy to introduce our speakers, Mr. S. Prem Kumar, IDAS, and Ms. C. Aarti, IDAS. Mr. S. Prem Kumar cleared the Civil Services examination, and he is a 2018 batch IDAS officer, currently working as Assistant Controller of Finance and Accounts in Ministry of Defense, Government of India. Previously, Sir has also worked in State Bank of India and also worked as a faculty for Civil Services examination. His hobbies include writing, and he is also mentoring more than 2,500 students for civil services examination preparation. Ms. C. Aarti, IDAS, is also 2018 batch officer. She hails from Coimbatore. Ma'am graduated in BE Biomedical Engineering from PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, and worked in GE Healthcare, Chennai for a brief period. Ma'am was also selected for SBA Probationary Officer in 2014. She also worked as an assistant in Tamil Nadu Labor Department. Currently, Madam is working as Assistant Controller of Defense Accounts in the Office of Controller of Defense Accounts at Chennai. Welcome you both to the portals of our institute, ma'am. Now I request our speakers to give their success talk. Over to you, ma'am and sir.
So first of all, I extend my warm gratitude for giving both of us this opportunity. I hope this 1 hour will be a fruitful interaction and will be useful for the aspirants.
Thank you so much, respected principal ma'am. Thank you so much, Ramya, for the nice introduction. So it's always a pleasure to talk with the students. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Sir and ma'am will have an interactive session now. Myself and Muzamil of third year student, who is also a civil service aspirant, will take the questions. Meanwhile, participants can also interact with our guest. Kindly post your queries, and we are glad to take your questions at the end of the session. So the first question to Prem sir, what was the inspiration for you to start the UPSC preparation?
So it's one of the most trickiest question, I think. So inspiration, I was always a socially conscious person. Most of us are always a socially conscious person. We will have empathy for other people. So if something happens in our society, we will have that empathy. So that social consciousness is the trigger, I think. So that was the starting point. And then I came to know about civil services examination during my college period. So I referred about the profile of various civil servants and how their works are creating an impact on the lives of the people. So those things inspired me a lot, and that helped me to pursue a career in civil services.
Thank you, sir. Now to Aarti ma'am. Ma'am, what are the mistakes you have analyzed during the initial stages of your preparation and how you have rectified your mistakes?
Okay. So I have cleared this exam only in my 4th attempt. So it means I have done a lot of mistakes and then I have corrected it in order to clear this exam. So starting from my first attempt, the first attempt I was very underconfident, as many of the aspirants would be. So I was not sure whether I could clear this examination or not. So I was taking other examinations like TNPSC, banking examinations, and even VAO exams because of my underconfidence. And that I would tell it is the greatest mistake which I did, because my energy got dissipated for other examinations and I wasted a lot of time there. And the second mistake was that I did not know the requirement of this exam, the exact requirement, what it needs to clear it. I went on studying rather than knowing how to convert it into a result. So that was the second greatest mistake which I did. And then I was focusing more on prelims aspect because I don't know whether I could clear that even. And later on only I realized that it should be a very comprehensive preparation strategy, rather only preparing for prelims and then for mains. So my first attempt, these were all the mistakes that I did. And in my second attempt, it was quite the opposite, that after my first attempt, I saw the marks and I thought I scored a very decent marks in my mains. So I thought that examination doesn't require that much hard work. So I was like little overconfident. Then again, I failed in my second attempt. Then the bell rang and I realized that if I keep on doing mistakes again and again, then years will be wasted. So I introspected and I realized that full energy will be spent on this exam, knowing the requirement of the exam. Then after that only I was able to clear it.
Thank you, ma'am. Muzammil?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I would like to ask a question to both of you, sir and ma'am. In this perspection of civil service, actually, everybody does dream to be one, but actually nobody knows what actually happens in civil service. Like, can you just give a gist on like what is actually a part of the service, being a civil servant?
So it's a good question. Being a civil servant, I won't confine it to our profile only, because for example, if I take this COVID situation, we are working in defense ministry, so we are dealing with finance. But because of our profile as a part of a civil servant community, we could help hundreds of people in this crisis situation. So every day we are receiving hundreds of requests for COVID-related emergency. So through our contacts and other services, all over the country, we are a group of 500 civil servants. We have been coordinating this COVID-related emergency. It is not part of our duty, but because of our profile, we could do all these things, mainly because of being a part of civil services community. So it's or official work or whatever you are doing in your non-official capacity, it's a satisfactory journey. And also profile-wise, if you are saying what we are doing as an Indian Defence Account Service officer, every year government allots around 4 lakh crore for defense ministry. So defense budget out of 30 lakh crore, India's 4 lakh crore is being exclusive to defense ministry. So how this 4 lakh crore is being utilized every year? For what purposes we are going to utilize? Are we going to buy Rafale jets? Are we going to buy submarines? So what kind of arms we have to import, or what kind of arms we are going to produce. All those things will be determined by group of IDAS officers. So we will give financial advice so that the money will not get wasted. So this is our prime duty. Financial advice is our prime duty. So apart from that, these kind of coordinating works during this kind of emergency situation will also happen. Defense Ministry is also having so many hospitals, military hospitals are there, cantonment hospitals are there. So we are coordinating these kind of medical emergencies at this crisis situation also. And the best thing about civil services, being part of civil services, is the exposure. Once you clear this examination, you can't even imagine the kind of exposure you are going to get. Okay, you will have an opportunity to meet almost all the top ministers in our country, defense secretary, all secretaries of our country. So the enriching experience you are going to get through their interaction, that is very important. And the exposure itself is it's an asset, I will say. That is the main thing of civil services. The kind of exposure you are getting, you will never get in any other field, I feel.
Thank you, sir, for that. Sir, now question to you. How a Tamil medium candidate from a rural or small background aspirant can cope up with their preparation? So you have also studied in Tamil medium, and what were the challenges you faced during your preparation time? And there are also some few myths that please clarify for our participants.
Yes, when I started my preparation, most of the people discouraged actually. So it is, the civil services examination is not for someone who is coming from the rural background. You should know good English, you should have money. So all these myths are prevailing in this civil services circle, but these are all myths. If you see the facts, in every year, the number of students who are clearing, most of them, almost half of them are from rural background. Almost half of them have pursued their education in regional medium, be it Tamil medium or Hindi medium or Kannada medium. So they are all coming from those kind of background, only half of the people. So it is highly possible. What you will face in the struggle, these kind of discouragements you will face, and you will definitely have the problem with the language. When I started to prepare, it will take around 12 to 13 hours for me to complete a Hindu paper. Not to complete, only complete half of paper. In 12 to 13, I started to my college to read Hindu paper. I keep on sitting in the library 12, 13 hours. I used to read a single Hindu paper, almost 200, 300 words. You don't know the meaning in the single paper. So I used to search the meaning of the word. So that 12, 13 hours, which I have spent 7, 8 years back, when I look back those things, it's a very good investment, I think. So that investment, that perseverance, you should definitely have. Initial periods, it will be difficult, obviously, but you can easily overcome by means of your hard work, definitely.
Sure, sir. So what are the roles and responsibility does women candidate face once they get posted? Any challenges from your experience, Aarti ma'am, as a women officer?
Okay. So here I would like to recollect one interaction with my director, sir, in my training academy. So when I first met him, he said, "You are now an officer. You are not a man or a woman. So people from now on are going to see you as an officer rather than the sex that is associated with you." So that is very, very true in civil services, because even till today, I feel not even a single day I felt that any hardship of being a woman. That being my personal experience, it's a very short experience, but still, as any woman would face in workplace, for example, the sexual harassment at workplace, I feel for civil servants, for women civil servants, it is way too reduced because you're already in an empowered situation. So issues like this will be really nil, or it is very, very in a reduced frequency it occurs. One challenge that we will have to face is regarding the transfers, a woman officer. So the personal life might get disturbed. So that personal and professional life balance should be taken care of. That will be one challenge for a woman officer throughout her career. But other than that, regarding the opportunities or regarding the scope for performance, there will be no difference between a man or a woman.
Okay, so ma'am, literally we can see that there are many social stigmas, particularly when it comes to female candidates, basically during the preparation time. How have you overcome all the societal pressures and what kept you motivating?
Okay, this is a very important area, because the way to reach here was more difficult than after reaching here. Being in such a society where it expects girls to behave in a certain way, it was very challenging. So what I would think in my mind is that even as a female aspirant, what we are aiming for is very high, very big. So once you are posted, once you become a civil servant, the challenges you have to face is even more higher. You would have to, suppose if you are the district magistrate, you will have to deal with so many politicians, so many people from different areas and other bureaucrats, and so many challenges you have to face. So I think this preparation phase will prepare you to face the challenges in the future. So even as a girl, if you're not able to deal with those 10 odd people, those 5 relatives or 5 friends who keep on demotivating you, if you're not able to deal with them, then how we will deal with the society at large? So I think that is a very good experience. For that, we will grow mentally stronger. So that question we should keep asking ourselves. So we are going to face that big challenge. So this is nothing in front of that. So for that, what I used to do is I used to read a lot of toppers talk, especially of female candidates. So I used to read a lot of them. I used to hear their videos and keep on self-motivating me in order not to go away from the path that is undertaken. So the female aspirants, I think the emotional intelligence is very, very essential. And sensitivity is something that is very related to females. So that also I think we should be very clear that we don't overthink and we focus on our goal.
Okay, ma'am. Now a question to both of you. How to overcome failures, like to maintain the positive attitude throughout the process, because the aspirants sometimes really don't know what is the competition that they're going to face. Any specific advice that you would like to give them?
So competitive examination is prone to failures. So most, if you on an average, all the aspirants are clearing this examination in their 3rd or 4th attempt only. So failure is associated with competitive examination. The best way to overcome your failure is improving your performance over the previous attempt. So what mistakes you have done in your previous attempt, so you are going to rectify those problems in your next attempt. So that will motivate you to continue your preparation. So what most of the aspirants are failing to do is they're not introspecting themselves properly. They have to introspect their failure, why they have failed. If they have failed, they should accept that they have done something wrong. That is why they are getting failed. They should not blame UPSC. They should not blame their situation for their failure. They should blame themselves. Yeah, we failed because we have done some mistake. So what is that mistake? How we are going to overcome that mistake? That mindset should be there. If we do that, definitely we could overcome the failure. So improve your performance, stay focused on your goal. And I always used to say one thing: your goal is very clear. The goal is already set. For some people, it is going to be the 100-meter race. Because of their environment, because of their financial status or parent support, they could easily reach that goal. It will be like a 100-meter race. For many people, it will be like a marathon. You have to run for a long time. There will be hurdles. You have to manage that. You have to keep on running. If you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, also you crawl. But somehow your goal is fixed. So you don't stop until you reach the goal. So you should keep on moving. You should overcome all these things. Focus on your performance. Keep away from all the distractions. That is the best way to overcome the failure.
Thank you, sir. Well, studying will not have a natural interest towards a particular subject. How to give equal emphasis to all the subjects, sir?
So I've seen so many aspirants are inclined towards a particular subject. If I like polity or if I like history, I'll try to become an expert in history, but UPSC doesn't want students who are an experts in particular subject. UPSC wants a generalist. So what we are going to be after clearing this examination, you are going to be the generalist. 2 years you will work in finance. So next 2 years I will work in health ministry. In the next 2 years I will be expected to work in education ministry. So they want generalist. So what I suggest is don't get inclined towards any particular subject. What is the relevance of that subject to UPSC examination? So in prelims, you can expect how many questions from a particular subject. In mains, how many questions you will expect from a particular subject. In what way they are asking, what is the depth of question from that particular subject. So prioritize these things and prepare on that particular subject. Don't give too much importance to any single subject. You will waste your time also. And UPSC's requirement is also not that.
Okay, sir. It is like both of your optional subjects were public administration. What's your advice to the candidates? Like, would you like to like strongly recommend them taking this optional, or like you would recommend them to only take up if it was a prerequisite, like they had some knowledge about the subject?
So public administration is one of the subject which comes under humanities. So it's a subject which anyone can read and they can reproduce. So it doesn't mandate anyone to have a prior knowledge or something like that. And we both are engineers. So we took up only after our college. And so we could cover the subject and we could clear it. So the only thing is that the interest which you should have, and public administration, it is very easy to read, but it is not that easy to score. Many people will take the optional and the questions will be some sort of generic in nature, but you have to give unique content in order to score very high marks. This applies for any humanities optional. It will be very easy to read, but to score, you have to put that extra effort, that unique content to score. So this, which we found out, I think it was after a second attempt, we found out that this optional requires some sort of out of the box thinking. So if you are ready to do it and if you are interested, then you can go ahead with the option.
So also to add what Aarti is saying, you should not go by the availability of material or easy to score. That is not the only criteria for choosing an optional. The main thing is how much interest you are having on that particular subject. Because optional subject is one thing which requires you to spend more time with that subject. If you are taking public administration as an optional, you have to write 2 papers with that subject. 2 optional papers are there. And the depth of studies requires also very high for optional subject. It's not like general studies. You will read some general things about that thing and you will write the exam. It won't work like that. So you should have the deep understanding about that subject. So only if you have passion, only if you have interest in that particular subject, you can spend next 1 or 2 years with that subject. So I've seen aspirants who have taken a particular optional subject just for the sake of scoring. And after 1 or 2 years, after 1 or 2 failures in their attempt, they eventually shift there. There are aspirants who have taken 4 or 5 optional subjects in the span of 5 years. First year, 1 optional, second year, 1 optional, third year, because the way they have chosen the optional is wrong. That is the reason. So really, if you have interest and if you have the passion towards the subject, go through the syllabus, go through the previous year question papers. And even after going through all these things, you still have that passion. Definitely, you can go for that optional subject. All optional subjects have that scoring capacity.
Okay, sir. But certain subjects, they are telling they will ask more static questions, and the questions are repeated in a few options like anthropology, all. But in public administration, it is like more dynamic. We need to concentrate on dynamic portion of this syllabus. So, what does you say about that?
I think the situation is changing now. If you take the past 2-3 years, especially, almost all the optional papers are being more dynamic. Even literature, Tamil literature papers, the questions are of unexpected nature in the last 2-3 years. Because UPSC, it's also realizing. For some options like public administration, the questions are too dynamic. Some options like literature subjects or anthropology, there are some static questions are coming. So they have also realized, I think, the last few years, the trend is getting changed. I hope in the future also the same trend will continue.
Okay, sir. Thank you. When an aspirant can start with the prelims preparation, test is an integral part of the preparation, but always aspirants have this question in mind. When they should exactly start for the prelims? They segregate like prelims preparation, mains preparation like that. So what about your opinion, sir? Saran ma'am?
So when they have to start the prelims preparation, means I don't think it's a compartmentalized thing. So the day one you are starting to prepare for UPSC examination, it's an integrated approach. You are going to read the newspaper every day. In mains also you are having history. In mains also you are having polity. In prelims also you have polity, history, economics, all those subjects. So the same thing you are going to read. How you are going to utilize those things in prelims examination, the utilization of the same content will be different. So you have to see the options. So you have to eliminate the options. You have to apply your mind with the whatever content you are having, and you have to answer the question. In mains examination, whatever you have learned, you have to put it in an analytical manner. You have to present that in an analytical manner. So that is the difference. All those contents are almost same only. And when it comes to taking test, there is a tendency among students. Always they will say that after I prepare thoroughly, I will take a test. Whenever you ask some candidates, they will say, sir, I will first prepare thoroughly and then I will take a test. They will keep on procrastinating of taking test. That day will never come. You will never prepare thoroughly for this examination because it is impossible to prepare thoroughly. Okay, so the syllabus is vast. They may ask from anything. So my best suggestion is take a test. The day you are starting your preparation, don't hesitate to take a test. You take a test, you do mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, and you don't do the same mistakes in the next test.
Adding to that, when an aspirant is going to start for the preparation, take the syllabus, prelim syllabus and main syllabus. Take the prelims question papers and mains question papers. Analyze it thoroughly. Spend at least, even if you spend 2-3 weeks, it is completely fine. Rather than running without knowing which direction to go, if you fix the direction, then if you even walk slowly, it is fine. But you have to go in the right direction. So I suggest very strongly that the question papers and syllabus, that should be always running in your mind. Suppose if you are reading one topic in polity, your mind should link it, what questions they can ask in prelims, how analytically they can ask in mains, and how we can produce this answer in mains. So your mind should be tuned in that way. That will make your preparation and as well as your scoring very easy.
Okay. So ma'am, both of you are very strong in prelims and specifically you have cleared all the prelims. Any specific advice for the aspirants that you'd like to give as a strategy for the upcoming exam during 2021?
Okay. So I'll try to tell it as short as possible. Keep your sources limited, and revision and re-revision should be your key. And write at least 20-30 question papers and revise those question papers and figure out the areas which is easy to score. For example, in my case and also in his case, we are not that confident with medieval India and ancient India. So we don't read extensively on that. Rather, we try to answer those questions which are from modern history or polity. So that scoring areas you have to identify. And there are questions which are getting repeated, like map questions. Invariably, it comes every year based on that list. So you should make it a point that you should be thorough with all that. And current affairs linked to map. So the trend of the UPSC you have to analyze in prelims. So reading is one, taking the tests is one. And one more important aspect is that even though you learn everything very thoroughly and go, you can answer only 40 to 50 questions when you sit in the examination hall. So the remaining questions, you have to do it by elimination techniques or by intelligent guessing. So that you will be able to do only when you have a very good coverage of all the subjects. So you will be able to eliminate the answers based on various techniques. The videos are available in YouTube. you should be very smart in your prelims preparation rather than working hard and hard. If you are very smart, it is very easy to clear because we have been sailing through it. So tests, revision, and your smart strategies there, and you be cool in the examination. You have 2 hours of time. That is it's a plenty of time to answer the questions. So go through it. First, attend all the questions which you are very thorough, and then the second round you go for the elimination technique, and third round you go for intelligent guessing. Here, like I have written an answer in Quora where I have explained everything. So I think if it might be useful, you can see that.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, you have already cracked other competitive exams like TNPC group exam, SBI, and Prem sir also cracked the RBI exam. Can an aspirant give other exams also, or it diverts their focus? What is your opinion and personal experience from that?
Okay, this again is my personal opinion only. It differs from person. So what I felt was that if you have an opportunity to prepare for UPSC alone, at least for 1 year, then that will be good. Because definitely because even clearing TNPSC is not that easy. You have to focus your energy and time on that. It also requires considerable amount of your efforts. So definitely that amount of energy will be shifted there. So I feel at least 1 complete year you should dedicate it to UPSC. And after that, depending on your financial situation or depending on each one's individual circumstances, then you can go ahead with other exams, because it is not that easy to prepare with a job full time, starting from the scratch and then reading. I'm not telling it's not possible, but if you have an option to do it separately, then it is well and good. It will increase your chances of clearing the examination.
Adding to that, if there will be some people in this group who couldn't afford to prepare without doing any job, so they have to take up some job and they have to continue their preparation. So I was in that position. So for those people, it is not impossible. She already mentioned it is not impossible, because there are people who have worked in a very difficult jobs, like some were working as a driver, some were working as a security. So even then they have cleared this examination. Okay, so I'm working in a software company, so I'm working somewhere in a very blue collar job, something like that. You can easily crack this examination. There are examples for all kind of probabilities: working and clearing, married, having children and clearing. So working for 10 years abroad and coming back to India and clearing. So name any profile, there are examples in UPSC Civil Services examination. So you can write a history. It is not that no one have achieved that in the past, so it is not possible. It is not like that. You may be the first one to do that. So keep focusing on your dreams. Definitely it will happen.
Okay. Now talking about this thing, like not every aspirant is like it comes under the same category. Like there might be chances where we actually exhaust the attempts, and during that consideration, is it good to have a mindset of like having a backup job for this criteria if we exhaust the attempts? What is your opinion on that, sir?
My suggestion is after 2-3 attempts, so you could consider having a backup job. Not that you're not going to clear this examination, not with that mindset. Having a backup job will ease off pressure on your preparation. Exclusively preparing for UPSC examination, after 2-3 attempts, you will have so much pressure, financial pressure, social pressure will be there. So having a job in your hand will ease off your pressure. It will help you to focus on your dream also. So it's always better to have a backup job, and always there is an uncertainty in UPSC examination. It is not only with UPSC examination. All competitive examination comes with uncertainty. So we have to face that. So for that, it is better to have a backup job after exhausting your 2-3 attempts. So give your first 2-3 attempts seriously. So you're very strong in your basics. So you need not spend so much time in your basics for examination. So you'll be very confident. So after 2-3 attempts, it's like brushing up of your basics and updating your current affairs, all those things. So it will require only limited amount of time. So you could easily manage while working.
Okay, sir. So is it like important for becoming a civil servant that people have to join coaching institutes? Like, does it come under the umbrella of like importance, or like anybody could go ahead with self-preparation itself?
So we haven't opted for any paid coaching institutes. Mostly we have prepared on government institutes and free coaching institute in Coimbatore as well as in Chennai. It was personal decision. For me, I couldn't afford that. For her, she wants to stay in her hometown. So there are personal reasons which motivated us to take the decision, but it is not necessary to go for coaching. You only if you go for coaching, you can clear, nothing like that. Because when we started our preparation in 2013, these online institutes, these online materials, nothing was available at the time. Internet itself was a costly thing at the time. But now the situation has changed. If you refer in the internet, you will get notes, you will get guidance, you will get videos for everything for UPSC. So it's easily you can get guidance. Only problem is you should not get overloaded by these kind of materials. So for same subject, you will have hundreds of materials. So end of the day, what you will do, you will collect materials. You will be a material collector. You won't read, you won't get time to read all these things. You will keep on collecting. I have this material, I have that material. But when you are going to read those materials, you don't know. So that is the problem with today's scenario. So if it is affordable for you, go for a coaching institute, make your basics strong, and then you continue your preparation on your own. After the first 6-7 months basics, you can continue your preparation. If you couldn't afford, there are government institutes which are offering free coaching. There are also some private institutes which are offering free coaching. So enroll yourself in one of those institutes and make your basics strong, and then continue your self-preparation. Okay, it's now no need to go for some private coaching institute and pay some 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So that discrimination should not be there. The trend of UPSC is also moving towards eliminating this discrimination. Those who are affordable, they can go for coaching institute and clearing this examination. UPSC also don't want this discriminatory practice. That is why the nature of the examination is also getting changed. If you see the questions, any learned person, any person who is reading newspaper regularly, any person who is having an analytical mind, they could easily crack this examination, provided they understand the requirement of the examination. There is no need for coaching institute in present scenario. Okay, definitely without coaching we can clear.
Adding to that, even if we are not going for coaching, one point I would want to highlight is that be aware of the competition that is there. Because there is a possibility that if we are not going for coaching and if we are doing self-preparation, we will be carried by our own thoughts, and whatever we decide is right and wrong. That attitude should not be there. We should be aware of the competition and what requires to clear this examination. There are so many websites like Insights and IAS Baba. So these online resources should be used as much as possible. And Mrinal, there are so many toppers who would have given their experience. So arrive at a strategy after going through all the toppers talk. Only then we will be able to know the requirement of this exam. So that strategy formation is very important. Even coaching is not that much important, but getting guidance from any good senior to avoid your mistakes, that is very important.
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, now aspirants are going through very difficult time with the current pandemic situation. It's very uncertain too. Already the nature of the exam bringing stress and depression is the part of the journey. Your advice for the aspirants to keep up their motivation.
Okay, so see, if suppose 10 lakh people are taking this examination, each and every one has their own stress. That level and the nature of the stress varies. For example, there are so many people, so many aspirants whose parents are civil servants. So what you will think is that they have learned from very good schools, they have all the resources, so they will not have that much stress. But the point is that they have so much stress that their parents were able to clear, so they also should clear in their 1 or 2 attempts. So that is the kind of stress that they face. So people like us who don't have civil services background, so we have to deal stress in a different way that people will keep on demotivating that it is not possible. So you are not the only single person who is facing this, who's handling this stress, who's handling this uncertainty. Every single person in this race faces the same thing. And everyone knows the very, very meager chance of clearing. The percentage, everyone are aware. But still, what makes the difference is that how you handle it and how well you maintain your sanity. That is very important. So during preparation days, Prem used, whenever I used to feel stress, he used to tell me certain things which is very useful to me, so that I will share with the aspirants, thinking it might be useful to you also. So we will take the case of an Olympic sports person. He just has a very few seconds to prove throughout his life, he would be working towards a certain thing. And he just has that 10 seconds or 9 seconds to prove it. So think of the stress that he would be handling at that point of time. It's just a matter of few seconds or even microseconds, milliseconds. Think the level of stress that he must be undergoing. And many of you would be fans of Mr. Dhoni, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, so known as Captain Cool. So whenever he is in the stadium, so many lakhs and crores of people surrounding him, giving him pressure, but still he manages to sleep in the ground only. So that is how he handles his stress. So more than that, we definitely do not have stress here. And one more experience that we faced while we were in our Bharat Darshan was, we went to Ladakh Dras sector. It is one of the coldest inhabited place in the earth. So we were taken to a forward post. Forward post means that which borders the neighboring country. So the soldiers there, they go to that post and they stay there for nearly 6 to 7 months in that harsh climate. In winters, it will snow there. So 6 to 7 months, they cannot come down. They should be there only. Even in case of medical emergency, they should be airlifted. And that takes many days to do that. So with that limited resource in that harsh conditions, they are surviving there. And when there is some live firing that is happening 24/7, they have to be very vigilant. And they face a lot of psychological and physical hardships. So when seeing all that, what we felt was that the stress which we are claiming that we are undergoing in this examination is really nothing. Seriously, it is nothing compared to that level of stress which they are facing. So this, I think, we should have it in mind whenever we feel stressed or depressed about any situation. If we think of all these incidences, I think it will just vanish. We will feel ashamed of ourselves that for this we are getting so much of stress. We are preparing the whole year. We are given 2 hours. We are given 3 hours to prove. We are just sitting with that paper. Only one individual is sitting and nobody is surrounding there. So I think we can handle. I will give one more point, that keep on reading motivational stories. There are so many positive stories that is available. So whenever a negativity strikes you, it is very practical that it happens, because people surrounding, they will try to demotivate you. It is not their fault. It is some society structure, I think. So in that circumstances, you make the point that you keep on reading positivity stories, and you have few friends circle whom you can open up and who will be your support structure. If you have at least 1 or 2 persons like that, then you will sail through.
Yes, ma'am, you have explained it very well. Sir, coming to this question, like after few years of service, does all the civil servants get equal opportunity to work together, or once they get IAS or IPS, they serve in administration and only police cadre? Because one time while discussing, I heard you told this.
Yeah. So the structure of civil services enable you to work in diverse sectors. For example, after 9 years of our service, we can work in any sector, be it health, education, social justice, so whichever sector we are interested in. So we could shift our career towards that sector. So you need not come back to your parent department, like now we are in Defense Account Service. So you need not come back to Defense Account Service. After 9 years, you're free to opt for any interested department you're opting for. It is the same for all other services also. So you can apply for central deputation. For example, some of my Seniors are working in ISRO. Some of them are working in Social Justice Ministry, Commerce Ministry. So it's based on your interest, based on your profile, you could choose your career. For police service also, they have their own profile. They could work in Interpol, they can work in CBI. They need not confine themselves to law and order alone. They could go for intelligence wings. So opportunities are there for all these civil servants.
Okay, sir. So how one should prepare themselves for personality test? Will they assess each and every word uttered by the candidate, and or how one should actually prepare for that? Um,
So when it comes to personality test, now this is the time for personality test for UPSC. So what they are expecting is they are expecting a conversation from an aspirant. But what we are misconceiving about this UPSC interview test is we are considering it as a question and answer session. They're going to ask a question, we have to answer it, quickly answer it and escape from it. So that attitude is there. Escapism is there among the minds of the aspirants. Somehow we have to escape. So we have to understand the demand of the UPSC examination. So they are all distinguished panelists. They are from different background. They want to develop a conversation with a young boy or girl so that they could understand who you are, what is your background, what kind of qualities you are having to get into civil services. So we should use that as an opportunity. So first time when you are appearing for an interview, UPSC interview, it's a dream come true moment for all of us. So first time you have been seeing that UPSC dome for many years in newspapers and TVs, and you are entering into the dome, the big wooden doors and the bell, all those things will increase your pressure like anything. Okay, you could imagine the kind of pressure you are undergoing. You have been waiting for that moment for years, and you are going to enter into that role. All of the candidates failed at that moment itself. Those who are scoring very low marks in interview, especially first time, second time, those who are going for interview, they failed at the door of the UPSC interview, chairman's door, because they lost their confidence, all those confidence. They will compare themselves with the other candidate. Oh, he or she is from IIT. It is her fifth interview, fourth interview. She worked in Google. She's a foreign return. She worked there. He worked there. All their confidence, they have lost even before entering that interview hall itself. So this is happening. Almost 50% of the students who are scoring low marks because of their underconfidence. I don't know good English. I don't know how to speak good English. They are talking very fluently. My English is not that good. It is not, doesn't matter at all. What you are speaking should be clear. They should understand what you are talking. You should understand what they are asking, and you have to develop a conversation. And that is the crux. And one more thing I want to stress here, those who are fearing that I have to talk in English in interview, it is very difficult for me, my English is not that good. So don't have that fear in your mind. And even many people who have completed their school in English medium, they would have studied some good matriculation schools, but they are struggling to talk in English. Okay, because if you ask, they will say, I don't know grammar. I don't know English grammar. My grammar is weak. So I used to ask those students, do you know what is Kutriya Ligaram? What is Kutriya Logaram? These are all Tamil grammar words. We have never thought these words while we are interacting in Tamil. Naturally, we are talking. Okay, why English also similar to that only. You first start to talk, grammar will automatically come. In due course of time, you will get to know all these things. So first start to talk, remove your hesitation, open up your mind, interact in English. So the fear about English, fear about appearing for interview will automatically disappear.
Yes, sir. So you're really doing a great job by mentoring more than 2,500 aspirants freely through your through the Telegram channel. We will share the link for our participants and aspirants, sir. Looking forward for your support for of our KCG civil service aspirants too.
Definitely.
Ma'am, I would like to know about the interesting interview experience that you had. Can you please share it with us?
Okay, so as he told, I was one person who was very, very nervous on entering the door itself. So very, very underconfident because I know my profile is not that great. It is very, very average. So I have not done so much of distinctive work or so much of extracurricular activities. So it's a very, very plain DAF. So that itself, I was very underconfident. And on entering there, they made me feel very comfortable. Actually, the board was very cordial. And as the interview progressed, there was one question which was very uncomfortable for me in one area regarding some spy, some agencies, which I was not aware. But as a UPSC aspirant, we have to be aware. But at that point of time, I was not able to recollect. So when that question was asked, I lost my cool. I sat there very nervous. I literally had tears in my eyes. Then the chairperson was like, "It is okay. It is fine not to know everything. Everyone know everything. It is fine. So you can relax. So you can answer the remaining questions." Then it took me 1 or 2 more questions to come back to my normalcy. So that's what I wanted to tell. The board doesn't expect you to know everything. The feel of the interview is more important. Overall, in that half an hour, what impression we create on their mind, whether we are capable of taking up the tasks which are given to us, whether we are matured enough, whether we are positive enough, that will leave a long lasting impression. So we should go with confidence.
Yes, ma'am. So your word of advice for motivating the upcoming future officers who are appearing in 2021 and 22, ma'am.
So if you follow the right strategy, if you are very sincere in whatever you are doing, then definitely you can clear it. No doubt. We have seen so many people who have cleared in their first attempt. It was like very easy for them because they followed the right strategy and they work very diligently for that. So I think each and every one of you should back success and live the life of your dreams.
And adding to that, I will always say, so please understand the kind of responsibility you're going to get after clearing this examination. Consider this COVID situation, how much crisis is going on in our country. After becoming a civil servant, you are expected to be a part of the solution for all these problems, all these complex problems. So it is about lives. People are struggling to live their life. So that kind of responsibility you are going to get after this examination. So just imagine what kind of preparation is required for getting into that zone. Okay, you are not preparing for your life alone. You are preparing to change the life of lakhs and lakhs of people, crores and crores of people. So you are going to be the part of the change, part of that solution. So please give your best and keep that as your motivation. All your personal motivation, self-motivation, power, that red beacon, all those things will not long last. Okay, it will, in the first few months itself, you will realize those things are nothing. If you have to sustain, if you keep on doing service to the people, these motivations should be there. We have to do something for the society. We have to be part of the change in making our country as a great country. So keep that as a motivation. That will make you as a sincere civil servant all through your life. All the very best to all the students. So anytime you can contact us.
So now Nitin and Nandini, I request you to take the participants' question. So you have queries from participants too.
Yeah,
I request you to.
yeah, sure.
Is Nitin and Nandini?
Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Please be little more audible. Like we are not able to hear.
Yes, ma'am. Is it audible right now, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Just a second, ma'am. Good evening, sir, ma'am. So I'll be reading out the questions from our participants. So we've got a question from Sadasivam, sir. What are the advantages of taking UPSC exams after engineering? That is, what are the challenges faced by engineering students for taking up UPSC?
Okay. So the advantages first is that if your optional subject relates to your engineering background, then like half to 3/4 of your load is reduced. because you have read that subject for 4 years. And so again, you will be going to, you should shape it up a little. That is what it is required for your optional, rather than starting it from the scratch. So that is one advantage. And the second one is that engineering students are generally known to be strong in CSAT, which is the aptitude test. So that will be one advantage. The challenges, I don't think there are much challenges, except you take a humanities subject and then you have to compete with because I'm a biomedical engineering background, I don't have an optional subject. So I should take a humanities and read it from the scratch. So that time people who have read it for 3 years, so I should put more efforts in order to score in that paper. Apart from that, there is no challenges from engineering background student.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we've got another question from Sri Vishwa. That is, as a college student, how would you like to talk about balancing the time between college works as well as the UPSC preparation?
Okay, I think during the college time, you need not spend so much of your time and energy for UPSC. If you have taken a stream which has an optional subject in it, then already you are working towards it. Then apart from your regular studies, you can spend time reading newspapers and tuning your mind to the UPSC setup. Like I told you already, the syllabus, the question papers, and how you should answer it. So if you streamline towards that, then once you finish your college studies, because even that is important, then after that, it will be very easy for you to take up a full-time preparation.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll be reading out the next question, ma'am, which is from S. Saraneshwar. So he basically asking like how many tests are to be taken for the mains after clearing prelims. So is it enough to go with only one test? Is his question, ma'am.
So mains after prelims, writing mains test series, I feel it is not a good strategy. I think you have to do it even before your prelims starts. So you should be able to do at least one set of your mains test series before your prelims. And after your prelims, for your optional, you can join one test series, and for GS, one complete test series. I think that will be fine. And apart from that, you can write 2-3 answers every day basis and give it to someone for evaluation and then correct it periodically. That will be fine. We need not overdo things. So one test series for optional and one for your GS, and every day writing practice. That number of questions, it depends on the time you have. If you had finished all your syllabus beforehand only, then you will have so much of time to write. So in that case, you can write after your prelims as many questions you want. But the point that you have to introspect yourself, you have to compare it with the toppers' answers, you have to seek guidance and you have to keep correcting it, and you have to adopt innovative mechanisms. Like, for example, if you have to draw a diagram, you should always think from the examiner's point of view and write the answer, rather than after seeing the question pouring out whatever you feel like. Rather than that, you should think how much if I write, in what way if I write, the examiner will give me marks. So your mains test series should be in that manner.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, sir and ma'am. There's one more question from Saraneshwar. Give us a few insights about how to prepare for essay.
Essay preparation, we will prepare extensively for GS. So that is the basic, what to say, it will put the framework for the essay paper also. So the specific thing that you have to do for essay is, there are certain areas which gets repeated, like women, education, moral, ethics. So there are some areas which keeps repeating year on year. So what we can do is we can collect a series of some great sayings, proverbs. We can have a list of all that specific to the given topic. For example, if there is a topic on education, we can have some saying from Thomas Alva Edison, and we should a framework should be developed that for introduction and for conclusion or for body, this kind of content can be built. And one more thing to note in essay is that you can make it very interesting for the reader. The more interesting it is, the more marks they will award us. And there is one more technique called you have to link in all the aspects like social, economical, political, historical. So in these aspects, if you're able to link, you will have more points and it should be a very organized essay. So 20 minutes, you have to jot down the points and you have to prepare the mind work. And the later part, you have to execute it. So specific preparation for this, going for specific coaching for this, personally, I feel it is not required. Rather, we have to do some groundwork, like preparing notes for specific topics and some stories if we want, some good introduction, catchy introductions if we want, and some uniqueness which we can give. If we do that, it will suffice for essay paper.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is from Pavai Parthiban. What strategy did you adopt to clear the exam?
Strategy to attempt?
To clear the exam.
There are tons and tons of strategy. Parthiban, you asked specifically next time, you have our contact details also. So you can raise your doubts specifically for prelims, for which part of prelims, for mains, which part of mains, for interview, which aspect of interview. So UPSC examination requires so many strategies for different areas. So it's very difficult to sum up in a single question.
Okay, so the next question from Nitya Kumar. Ma'am, would you tell how you overcome your less confidence and overconfidence?
The situation pushed me to overcome. That's what I should tell. Because I faced the consequences of being underconfident. My mother used to tell one proverb in Tamil, like "Tannai patti thalvaga ninaipavan thalnde povan." So that I used to keep on recounting that, and I used that to overcome my underconfidence. And as I told already, hearing all the positive stories, there are so many people who are from very disadvantaged position who have cleared the examinations. So one aspect is that when somebody from that position can do it, then definitely we can also do it. So in that positive stories, the confidence definitely builds. And overconfident is after I got a failure in my second attempt, that was the medicine for my overconfidence. It proved that this exam is not something that very easy unless you adopt the right strategy and right. So my failure taught me the lesson for overconfidence.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is from Lokeshwaran. What should be our aim as an aspirant? Does we need to aim for IAS, IRS, or we need to aim on exams?
It is better to aim for you are appearing to clear this examination. After clearing this examination, you are expected to be part of a civil servant group which is working across multiple. Okay, so you can be an IAS or IPS or foreign service. So you don't know what you're going to be. So it's better to have an open mindset. So whatever service among the 21 service, whichever service you are going to get, all those services are going to contribute for the growth of our country in a significant way. They have their own way of contribution. So any service you are going to get, you are going to contribute for the growth of our country. So go with that attitude.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Sri Vishwa. How to begin my preparation as a college student? How should I balance my time between college works and UPSC preparation?
Just read newspapers. Just read a good English newspaper, preferably Hindu, and a Tamil newspaper. and understand the background of the news. For example, if you're reading about some farmers' protest, why they are protesting. So they are protesting against some new laws which are being introduced. So what are those laws? Why they are opposing that law? Why government has introduced that particular law? So study the backdrop of the particular issue. So read newspaper in this manner until you complete your college education. So that is more than sufficient. You have prepared almost half of your mains portion by reading the newspaper in an analytical way. That is more than sufficient. After completing your college education, you could start with the basic books. Some 5-6 books are there that you could easily read. For engineering subject. Just 1 week before your semester, you could have read some 5-6 books for each subject, and you could have cleared this engineering semester. So for you, reading this 5-6 books, traditional books for UPSC is not at all a matter. Read newspaper thoroughly in an analytical way. That is more than sufficient.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Deepak. How to crack the interviews?
Just be yourself, Deepak. That is very important. You should not fake an interview. The most of the aspirants, what they're thinking themselves is very smart. But see the panelist perfect. They're all 65 plus, 70 plus. They have worked in various capacities. For example, we have faced a panel. The chairman was the ambassador to China, foreign ambassador to China, foreign secretary, former Delhi police commissioner. All those people were the panelists. So in front of them, if you try to fake, they will easily identify. Within a minute, they will identify you are trying to fake in front of them. So then they will show who they are. The kind of questions they are going to ask after that will be like screwing you like anything. So be yourself. Try to match up with the expectation of UPSC. What UPSC is expecting? They are expecting a genuine candidate with compassion towards the weaker section, with some good analytical thinking. So that is what the expectation of UPSC. So try to groom yourself as a person to match up the expectation of UPSC. That is more than yourself on interview.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Siva Kiran. How tough is the preparation process?
It's subjective actually. I won't say it is the tough thing, because the kind of confidence this preparation is going to give you, it cannot be matched with anything. After reading this UPSC syllabus for 1 year, 2 years, you will realize that how informed you are. Okay, you will enjoy the process. How many things we know. Before 2 years, you shouldn't have known all these things. After 2 years, you are with so much of information, you could easily compare yourself with your friends who have not prepared for UPSC examination. It's an enriching experience. I don't think it's a tough process. It's an enriching process, which will make you as a more refined person. So enjoy the process. Don't consider it as a tough thing.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Saraneshwar. So there are few saying that we have to read ready with at least single page notes for each topic on mains. But in GS2 and GS3, more of current affairs. So what we should do, sir?
For static things, you can have notes, but for current affairs, you just link current affairs with the static notes. So the relevant current affairs areas, you just link with the static portion. That is sufficient. But read current affairs for your analytical understanding, static notes for your basic understanding. So you should have 1-page notes for static things alone. You can easily differentiate what are the static areas, what are the contemporary areas in your syllabus. So prepare accordingly.
Yes, sir. So can you please tell us, is there a need to interrelate subjects while preparing? I mean, is there any interrelation between GS1 and GS2 like that?
Definitely, there is an interrelation between all the 4 papers. For example, in GS2, you have some portion called integrity, corruption, new mechanism introduced to tackle corruption. What are the legal mechanism introduced to tackle corruption? How to overcome corruption in society? There is a question in GS2. You should you should bring that ethics angle, which is GS4. GS4 is about ethics paper. One of your answers should be that ethics angle of corruption, and one of your answers should be that historical angle of corruption. What Chanakya told about corruption, how corruption existed during British period. So all aspects of our syllabus have that interconnection. So it's better to have a interrelated approach to UPSC exam.
One more question. As I heard, you cleared exams like RBI, SBI, TNPSC. So you joined that job or continued your UPSC CSE exams?
Some of the jobs we joined due to personal reasons, financial pressure, family pressure, but some of the jobs we didn't join. So we continued our preparation. It depends on the situation.
Like SBI probationary officer, I did not take up because it was in my initial years of preparation. So I know after taking up my job, it would be difficult for me to continue UPSC preparation. But I took up the job in Tamil Nadu government because that was in my third attempt. So I thought my foundation is strong, so that I can, with the job also, I can crack the examination. So I took up that job. So it depends on your personal circumstances.
Yes, sir. One more question. So while answering an interview, do we need to talk in favor of the government of India or facts?
You can talk in favor of government of India or facts, but the reason you are going to give for your stand, whether you are supporting or not supporting the government's decision, it's subjective. But what reasons you are giving for your decision? I'm supporting because of these reasons. I'm supporting, not supporting because of these reasons. Those reasons should be convincing. If you have convincing reasons, you could go for any decision. You could support or not support, but convincing reasons should be there.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We are done with the question and answers.
Yes, thank you, Nandini. So we came to the end of the event. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Mr. S. Prem Kumar, IDAS, and Ms. C. Aarti, IDAS, who, despite of their busy schedules, found their time to share their experience and motivate our aspirants. I express my heartfelt thanks to our management, Director Ma'am, for organizing such wonderful webinar. Next, I thank our beloved principal, Dr. Devasundari ma'am. Her able guidance has always encouraged us. I thank her for her kindness, interest, and continued support. I thank my HOD, Dr. Kavita Balamurugan, and other heads, faculty, my dear students, student coordinators, and the external participants from various colleges and universities for your continuous participation. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.